Good morning. Welcome to 49ers in 5, your daily update on everything happening with the team that you need to know. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. Today is Friday, December 1st, 2023. Here's what's happening with your San Francisco 49ers. We'll get to Brock Purdy and his return to the scene of the crime, so to speak, in a minute. But first, we begin, as we always do, with the injury report. Unchanged from yesterday. So that means Eric Armstead, Jordan Mason, and Ray McLeod did not participate in practice. Again, all are expected to play on Sunday. Eric Armstead specifically said he is going to be on the field against the Eagles. Spencer Burford was once again limited. Now, let's get to Brock Purdy's media session. He was asked about how he has grown as a quarterback since that last start in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think I've grown just mentally with this playbook, with the system, with just the guys that I'm playing with in terms of, them knowing what they're going to get from me. And I feel like at the time, I was still trying to find my way in the NFL and play consistent and prove to the guys that I can play. So now it's all about, how can I be consistent, every single drive, every game, and sort of being able to handle all the factors that come with playing quarterback, the noises, keeping guys under calm, cool, collected, like that kind of stuff. So I feel like in that game or at that time, I don't know if I was that guy yet. So I feel like that's the difference.
I thought that was a pretty revealing answer. Basically, last year was about proving to everybody that he could play in the league. And now it's really about becoming that kind of field general type player. Very honest answer, which is not something you get from a lot of quarterbacks. So that was very cool. Brock, there's been a lot of talk this week about the weather and how we could see some rain on Sunday. Did you learn anything playing in the rain in Cleveland earlier this year that you're going to take into this game?
In Cleveland, it sort of came out of nowhere in a sense. Like mid-drive, it started raining, so it was a little tough to deal with that one drive. But to maybe have a plan of if I need a glove, if I don't, if it's downpouring, if it's a slight rain, that'll just probably be one of those decisions once we get there and you see the weather and how it is right before the game starts. But those are things that I'll definitely be thinking about.
Kyle downplayed the rain when he spoke on Wednesday, but clearly Brock isn't, and I love to hear that. It does matter. Rain affects footballs. That is a fact, and it sounds like Brock realizes that, and he's going to have a plan regardless of what the weather is in Philly on Sunday. The last one comes from offensive line coach Chris Forrester. I love his press conferences. I think he's really just honest and plain spoken. And I think he actually does give you information. He's not super guarded about everything. So, Chris, break it down for us like we're 5 years old. Why are the Eagles so hard to run the ball against?
That they like when we played Jacksonville, the thing that we commented on was that it wasn't like it was confusing. It wasn't like they had a bunch of crazy things to pick up and block. They just defeat blocks well. They just are good players, The big guys inside get off blocks and make tackles. The edge setters set edges and get rid of the guys that are trying to block them on the edge and make tackles. The inside linebackers, although they've lost one of them, the more you study them, man, they're hard to get blocked on the second level. They do a good job of either running around or running over the top of and making linemen miss them on the second level, and they get to make tackles, and they do a good job of not getting blocked, and I guess that's what makes you pretty good on defense.
I know that sounds obvious, but I just like the explanation from him. And if you think about it, it could be good for the Niners because Kyle Shanahan's going to know exactly where these Eagles are going to be. And if Kyle knows what you're going to do against him, he's very good at scheming it up and using that against you. So hopefully that holds true when the Niners play the Eagles. We always give you one thing to read, one thing to watch, and one thing you might have missed. One thing to read on this Friday. Eric Branch has a really cool article in the San Francisco Chronicle all about the relationship between Mooney Ward and Ambry Thomas. Apparently, when things weren't going great for Ambry earlier this year, Mooney Ward sat him down and had a real heart-to-heart with him, told him what was up, and it made a big impact. If you want to read this story, of course, click the link in the description of this episode. One thing to watch, the Eagles injury report. They've got some guys that are banged up in some key areas. Fletcher Cox did not participate in practice yesterday. Their linebacker, Zach Cunningham, also no go. He's one of their big run stoppers. And Dallas Goedert, of course, the tight end, has a forearm injury. He didn't go as well. So the Eagles, again, we talked about how much they were on the field the last 2 weeks. They are banged up also. So they're coming in at a pretty significant, I would say, physical disadvantage. One thing you may have missed, Tim Kawakami says the 49ers locker room was overjoyed that they have no more regular season games on their schedule on artificial turf. They are done now. So potentially there are only 2 other artificial turf games that they could have to play, even in the playoffs. One would be if they were in Dallas, which at this point appears unlikely. The other is if they are in Detroit. That is also artificial turf. Most players hate artificial turf. We know it's better to play on grass, better for injuries. So that is good news for the Niners the rest of the way. That's a wrap on today's 49ers in 5. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Enjoy your Friday, everybody. I will be live with Michelle Majuk, as we always are, around 9:15 a.m. Pacific time today, previewing the big game from a betting and a gambling perspective. Also, crossover podcast this week is with Ben Solak of The Ringer. He knows the Eagles well. He's an Eagles fan. He and I dove into everything in this matchup for about 15, 20 minutes. It's a really, really good interview. I urge you to go check it out on our YouTube page or check it out in podcast form if that's how you choose to listen. I promise it is worth your time. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. We'll talk later today.